Hey church, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Elise.
And we are here live on the ELCA Young Adults Facebook page. And we're live from the Wartburg Theological Seminary campus in Dubuque, Iowa. We are so happy to be here to talk about quick swaps in the kitchen. I love to cook.
I do too.
And so I'm always looking for ways to just tweak what I'm doing so I can create less waste, consume less, and be a more faithful steward.
Exactly.
And today is all about how we can do that. You know, this conversation is so interesting because in so many ways, this is not a new conversation.
It's really not. A lot of things we're going to be talking about brings me back to learning to cook with my grandma in her kitchen, using old jam jars as drinking glasses, things like that.
Absolutely.
It's a very old way of cooking and responding in our kitchen.
Yes, thinking about what can be reused, what can be washed, what can be recycled, upcycled, and so that is what we are going to get into today. We're also going to talk about what it means to be sustainable and hospitable, especially in our current social context. So what is happening in the world and what does that mean for us? So many things can be reused.
So many things. One of the main things I reuse are the soap bottles.
Yes.
As much as it is as a temptation to buy those pretty new soap bottles and things like that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
One of the things I cut down on waste is I buy a giant bottle of dish soap, I put in the old containers I had before, and I just continue to reuse them.
Yes, absolutely. Same for me. These are my actual bottles from the kitchen, which I have had for years.
And
I
used
used to rebuy like the cute new ones, and then I realized, of course, just like Grandma used to do, reuse.
Exactly.
Yes. I also make my own cleaner, which I think you do also.
I do too, yeah. A little bit of vinegar and some water.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, so good. Definitely Google. There are a lot of recipes for good cleaners, homemade cleaners on the internet.
Yeah.
And then you're reducing your consumption, right? Rather than buying new plastic bottles filled with your soap, your dish soap, your cleaner, you're just refilling the containers that you already have.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. With my cleaner, I love to use Swedish dishcloths.
One of my favorite things.
Yes, they're so great. So I used to be a sponge user, but sponges are full of plastic. And there are also like plenty of other concerns about sponges, but what I love about these is that they are compostable. So I use them forever. This is a fresh, brand new one. This is an old one. I've been using this for a while. What I do is I'll use mine for a week, then I throw them in the washing machine.
Wonderful.
Get them washed sometimes even less than a week. But then I wash them, and then you can just keep on reusing them. When their life cycle is finally done, they are biodegradable.
Nice.
So I don't have to worry about them just adding more to the landfill.
One of the things that my family used, we used to be huge sponge users, but then my mom learned how to knit.
Yes.
And so she makes these cute little washcloths that are actually made out of cotton, which is a great natural material to use. There's the scrubby one, which is great for getting those hard.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, those
Show
hard
everybody.
spots on the dishes out.
Yes.
And then there's also this really nice soft one.
Oh, yes. What do you use these for?
For washing dishes, for wiping down counters. Use it to actually also protect my pots and pans when I'm not using them to clean things.
Yes.
And just
So
throw
lots
them in
of
the wash.
multi-purpose stuff.
Throw them in the laundry machine, and then they're good to go again.
Yes, awesome. So if you have a knitter in your family, that's a great thing to set them to work with. In my house, I really wanted to reduce how many paper towels we were using.
Yeah.
And so I realized that I had this stash of washcloths that we were not using. So in one of my kitchen cabinets now, I have washcloths that I already had, weren't being used elsewhere, and now when I would have reached for a paper towel, I reach for these instead. They wipe up the same, they work on my kids' faces the same, I throw them in the washer, and then they're good as new, right?
Exactly.
So that's what this is about. This is about what do I already have, what do I already know, and what gifts or skills can I employ so that I'm not buying and so that I'm reducing my consumption.
It's not about buying all new things in the kitchen to replace the plastic. It's just about reusing and repurposing.
Right, exactly. And then one day when you run out of maybe your saran wrap, your plastic wrap that you've been using, then you look at making a smart purchase that's good for the earth.
And what are these? I've heard about them.
These are my beeswax wraps. I have them in a variety of patterns. This is my banana one.
I like these.
In different sizes. These are amazing. Do you feel how they're sticky?
Yeah, they have kind of a crunch. It seems like I can just mold it.
Yeah, so I use them like if I have a bowl to cover, you can wrap it around the bowl or even like around like half of a bell pepper or a piece of fruit or something. pop it in the fridge, it stays fresh. It works so well.
It seems like it works better than saran wrap.
It does, because that just like sticks to itself, right? And you just end up throwing it away. So those are the single-use plastics that we can eliminate with things like beeswax wraps, which also, when they're done, like their whole lifespan is done, biodegradable.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the swaps I've switched out to is these silicone Ziploc bags.
Yes.
Which I love because you can reuse them, just wipe them down, wash them, and then put them back into your lunchbox the next day.
So good for food storage, along with Tupperwares, of course. And like you mentioned, my grandma always used like yogurt containers or the old jam jars or pickle jars or whatever. So putting those things to use to store our food.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be new, fancy, pretty, but just gets the job done.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
And so one of the things I do a lot in my kitchen is I bake. I bake a lot. And one of the simple swaps I've made, which has actually saved me a lot of time, is these silicone baking cups for cupcakes, muffins, things like that.
Yes. So good. And they're so pretty.
They are. Look at these cute colors.
You know what? So my kids love to use these for their lunches. I'll put them in their lunch boxes. It's like homemade bento box, basically, with these as little partitions. Or even just for snacks, or like if we're doing art projects, I'll give them this with like, you know, beads or whatever. We use them for games, projects, all sorts of uses. And also, like you said, so useful in the kitchen. And I know that you love your silicone baking mats as much as I do.
It's one of my favorite things in my kitchen, to be honest.
What do you use it for?
I use it for baking cookies, for baking pieces of chicken, things like that. That is a pain to clean up off of the pan. It makes cleanup a whole lot easier. It cuts down my waste. I'm no longer using lots of parchment paper.
Yes, or foil.
Yes. And so it's an easy way to clean up, and it's an easy way to keep things out of the landfill.
Yes. And stuff like this lasts so long. I've had many of my products for 10 plus years, and they're still going strong.
Yes, exactly.
So yes, that's super awesome. You know, this is, it's about so much more than just our kitchens, right? Like, we can talk about fabric napkins instead of paper napkins. And it's so great, right? To like not have to buy paper napkins, to just literally use fabric that, I mean, I cut these like from a ream and didn't sew them because I don't know how to do that. But like, not only does this keep napkins out of the trash, this also changed the way that I welcome people into my home. It changes the way that I'm hospitable to people, because now when you come to dinner, like, you're a part of something that's been a part of my family and my hosting for so long. And you know, that issue of that element of hospitality is such a big part of this sustainability conversation.
It really is. And especially with food, it's a great way to think about how we are hospitable to other people.
Yes.
Welcoming people into our home, inviting and sharing our resources with others.
Definitely. In this season of Lent, where we talk about no plastics for Lent, it's not just about single-use plastics.
Exactly.
Right? It's about how do we perceive ourselves being in relationship with all of creation. Because it's easy to focus on me and my needs and my fears. When I do that, I'm operating out of fear. I'm not thinking about those in need, those at the margins, those maybe who have less economic resources than I do.
Exactly. And one of the ways that helps me cut down my overconsumption is when I think about being stewards to the creation and to my neighbors, because it isn't just about me. God has called us to be in a community with others, and so when I don't think about others and put myself first, I am not living into who God has created me to be.
Yes. And that is so important in our current cultural climate.
Exactly.
Right? It's easy to be overwhelmed by the fear, by the personal needs, rather than to turn to what does my community need and what decisions can I make that are often tied to consumption that are for the good of all.
Exactly. My actions affect the lives around me, and it's an important thing to keep in mind while I'm cooking in my kitchen and when I'm going and buying things to use.
Yes. Yes. So that is a little bit about what we're thinking about this week, and how it really is a part of this movement towards sustainability, towards being in faithful relationship with all of creation, and particularly those in our communities who are in need. So as we seek to faithfully live out the call of the gospel, we consider the needs of the others, the earth, our neighbors, our human family. We respond faithfully rather than fearfully for the good of all. And so we would love to hear your thoughts about this, as well as other swaps that you make in your kitchen, down in the comments below. Elise, I'm really thankful that you were here with me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much to all of you for joining us. And thank you to ELCA Young Adults for the invitation to continue to be a part of this incredibly important conversation about sustainability. We wish you a wonderful week.
Have a great week.